So what does a preacher want? And more to the point, what do I, as a preacher, want? I had nice of me to ask. And boy, do I have a list. Actually, what I want is written into the benediction that I give each week. What I want for me and what I want for the congregation is to be able to assist you and make it possible for myself to experience harmony, peace, and resolve. To me, that reads like a recipe for fulfillment. So there I was set to preach on that when, during the Sacred Poetry discussion group this week, we focused on a text from the Tao Te Ching, and I read this. The master doesn't seek fulfillment. Not seeking, not expecting, she is present and can welcome all things. Which completely pulled the rug out from under my sermon. Wow. The master doesn't seek fulfillment. Lao Tzu observes, not seeking, not expecting, she is present and can welcome all things. So here, however indirectly, Lao Tzu defines fulfillment as not only the cessation of seeking, but as the experience of welcoming all things. I'll say that again. From Lao Tzu's ink brush to your ears. Fulfillment is the experience of welcoming all things. Imagine you welcoming all things. Now, mind you, this does not mean our good judgment and personal tastes are set aside, necessarily. It does not mean that we become passive or inert. Indeed, we are instructed earlier in this same text that action arises in us spontaneously, and not only action, but right action. But right action comes from clarity, which comes from the suspension of the frantic search for fulfillment, which manifests as the experience of welcoming. Fulfillment is the experience of welcoming. And so now, what does it mean that we claim to be a welcoming congregation? What does it mean, given this new insight into the power of welcome? Welcome is in our declaration of ourselves, as well as our mission statement and our covenant. We welcome. Now, have we serendipitously set ourselves on the course of fulfillment? Have we subconsciously identified welcoming as the manifestation of satisfaction, and so set it before us as a guiding light? And if fulfillment is the promise, if satisfaction is what is at stake, does that put new energy in our welcoming of the stranger? You may have picked a very good day to come here, Jose. Or even of welcoming one another, or of welcoming circumstance and lessons and opportunity and pain. Does it put a new urgency in our welcoming of our own lives and experience? Welcome may not only be compassionate, but also transformative and even salvific. Is welcome the final true form of salvation, the final embodiment of freedom. Do you see the potential that we have set before ourselves? Is that frightening? Is that exciting? My response is kind of giggly, which indicates it's maybe both for me. The master doesn't seek fulfillment, says Lao Tzu. Not seeking, not expecting, she is present and can welcome all things. So beautiful. And not only has it taken our declaration and mission to an even more profound vista of possible transformation, it has ripped the chassis out of the sermon I was going to write. And this really ticked me off. I had some things to tell you about what I want. But we have just heard that seeking prevents fulfillment. So what was I to do? Well, the temptation was too great. I will preserve the intended sermon by compromising my fulfillment. Such a martyr. But this is an easy bargain to make because I am clearly no master. And so even with the wisdom to do so or to do otherwise, gifted to me by our poetry group, I will instead seek or tell you what I seek. So as a minister, what I seek is to improve the quality of experience. And that goes for myself, my congregation, my culture, and no less than all beings on the planet. I realize how audacious and even arrogant that may sound. I seek to improve the quality of experience for the planet. Oh, of course I do. Don't you? Now, with regards to experience, for me, it is ministry where I can address and explore both its internal and external aspects, that is, attitude and circumstance. It is in ministry where I can work for justice in the world, that's the external, and peace in the heart, the internal. Now, external and internal experience are both finally about relationship. For example, an external set of relationships would be those that comprise a system, say the agricultural system or the immigration system. Meanwhile, the personal relationship of yourself to all that you pay attention to and how that makes you feel would be more of an internal experience. So it is wise, I think, that at the center of our faith is a covenant, an agreement. See, this acknowledges that relationship is primary. Relationship is what you use, come together to work on, and that is the key to improving the quality of our experience. So working on our relationships with one another, that is to say, practicing the promises we make in our covenant, will have a carryover effect into all our relationships. From our relationship with our family, to our relationship with the rude stranger in the grocery store, to how we engage in justice. Given that, a subsequent thing that this minister wants is to invite you into an understanding of what is at stake and what is possible in the kind of relationship that we are cultivating here at Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalist. As I see it, what is at stake is nothing less than our character. when we enter into covenant with each other, what we are doing is giving our word. Our covenant is our word, and that puts our character at stake. Our word is a reflection of ourselves. Our word is us. This is not just about reputation. It is about self-reflection and growth. Our word given is powerful in another way. Our word is our bond. Our word not only forms us as a person, it forms us as a people. And just to encapsulate this portion of the sermon in aphorism, our word is our bond, and we are only as good as our word. That is, the strength and growth and integrity of ourselves and of our community is what is at stake. And it is good to have something at stake. When something is at stake, we have made an investment. We have something to lose. We have made ourselves vulnerable. But it is only through that vulnerability that we have the opportunity to grow and the gentleness to do so well. A few weeks ago, we explored the idea that diversity helps accountability, while cohesion aids survival. The paradox here is that in a community striving for both cohesion and diversity, we are bound to have conflict. And conflict can be scary and just plain exhausting. But in fact, this is your opportunity for spiritual practice. This is your opportunity to seek understanding. Now, each of you get along very well with many, many people here. And then perhaps there are those who you don't know so well, and even some with whom you have a more difficult time relating. And that's okay. You don't have to like everybody, but you do have to love them. If you only love the people that you like or respect, or only love people who never disappoint you or dismay you, or who never get upset with you, then your opportunity for transformation, for meaningful participation in this kind of community is limited. You don't have to like everybody, but you have to love them. Well, how the heck do you do that? I am only learning myself. But it seems like a good place to start is by being careful with one another. As careful as we can be. We're not going to make mistakes. But especially if we are all already vulnerable by virtue of our word given to one another, it just makes sense to be gentle and to seek to understand. We don't have to agree, but we would do well to seek understanding. So understanding is a different level than the agree-disagree polarity, or even the polarity of offense. These polarities are tools for immediate survival, and when expressed, are just the chatter of our minds justifying our instincts. However, seeking understanding in each other is a pathway to compassion and transformation, as it seeks to map the genetic and social matrix producing the instinct and invites evolution. For instance, I find it is a good question to ask in order to understand another person, or to use the vocabulary from a couple weeks ago, to understand another matrix. Good question to ask is, where are you coming from? In my observation, this yields a different response than why did you do that? Asking why did you do that will produce an answer that includes reactions to all and only the immediate stimuli and concerns. It is reactive and just the tip of the iceberg. On the other hand, the question, where are you coming from, is more reflective, more likely to produce answers that reveal the matrix of the other, and this creates the possibility for both parties to gain understanding. The person you are asking may gain understanding or regain insight into their own matrix. Likewise, you may come to understand at least part of another matrix, which will, of course, highlight your own. Understanding others helps us to understand ourselves. Now, I do not promise this will be painless. In fact, I can promise pain. But this will be the pain of growth, not the pain of death or anger or of weakness. This pain will not be in vain, but may rather be the pain of losing your vanity. And this is the kind of pain we may welcome. In fact, this is all about welcome. Which brings us back to welcoming as the path of fulfillment. The ancient masters, writes Lao Tzu, were profound and subtle. Their wisdom was unfathomable. There is no way to describe it. All we can do is describe their appearance. They were careful as someone crossing an iced-over stream, alert as a warrior in enemy territory, courteous as a guest, fluid as melting ice, shapeable as a block of wood, receptive as a valley, clear as a glass of water. Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself? The master doesn't seek fulfillment. Not seeking, not expecting. She is present and can welcome all things. And yet here I have gone and wanted all over the place. I have bargained fulfillment for the experience of telling you that what I want is for you to be careful with one another, to seek understanding, to love each other, and to know what is at stake and what is possible when you give your word in this community. And this was an easy bargain to make because clearly I am no master. Except that I am. As are you. Once our mud settles, our water is clear. And so I will endeavor to not want from you or from my ministry, but rather to welcome all things.